Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak and welcome to my review of the brand new Sonic game, Sonic Dream Team. It's quite an unusual game in the Sonic series because this is a fully featured 3D platformer, but it's actually an exclusive to Apple Arcade. And at first I wasn't really sure how to feel about that because I'm not the biggest fan of mobile games or those sort of spin-offs, but this really does feel like a proper full-featured Sonic game. So first of all, we're greeted by this honestly incredible opening sequence. This is easily my favourite animated intro to any Sonic game ever. Just look at how incredible this looks and sounds. It was so bright and colourful and it made me so excited to start playing. Then the game begins with some comic book style scenes setting up the premise for the game. Basically, Eggman is using this dream catching machine and trying to use one of the Sonic characters to making his dreams become a reality. We're also introduced to a brand new character for this game called REM, and she has a really nice design, and her name is a nice play on the term REM sleep as well, so I really appreciated that little nod there to the dream aesthetic of the game. She exists in the game as a kind of guardian for this dream machine, making sure only people pure of heart, like the frustratingly cheery Cream the Rabbit, can actually use it. And Eggman's actually been trying to trick her into using the machine on his behalf. So to cut a long story short, Sonic and his friends end up being trapped inside the dream, and it's up to you to adventure through 4 different worlds in order to find dream orbs and free them from their dreams, and eventually, of course, get back to the real world. Some of the cutscenes in the game actually use in-engine animation, and these are some of the best cutscenes that I've ever seen in any Sonic game. Just take a look at the incredible, fluid and expressive animation in these cutscenes.
Seaside Dream, giant enemy crab. Why am I not Wait, is that a mustache?
And the rest of the game is pieced together through these comic book style scenes after each act, and I really think that flows really well, and maybe Sonic Team should actually experiment with doing this kind of really high quality animation for the main cutscenes, and then doing the smaller cutscenes in a more storybook style, and then they could free up the budget to make these bigger scenes even better. Anyway, enough about the story and the characters, let's see what the gameplay is all about.
I am looking after your friends.
So the game begins with a tutorial level explaining the very simple controls and how to move the camera. It's all very simple, and you can tell that the game has been simplified for mobile devices and Apple Arcade. The game is actually boiled down to just 2 buttons. You have jump and you have boost, which also doubles up as a home and attack. There's no extra movement options like in some of the other 3D Sonic games, so there's nothing like spin dash in here, there's nothing like the bounce jump, and there's nothing like the hard drop either. All you have is jump and boost. And honestly, that's all the game needs, really. As well as Sonic, as you're playing through the game, you also unlock different characters to play as too. You eventually unlock Tails and Knuckles as well as a second set of characters with the same skills. So in this case, Amy plays exactly the same as Sonic, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping that I'd be able to use her hammer attack, just like in Sonic Adventure 1, but that is not the case. She plays identically to Sonic, which is kind of weird to see her running at the same speed as Sonic through these stages. And then Cream plays the same as Tails, which of course makes perfect sense, although just like Amy, you don't actually get to use her main ability, which in the previous games was throwing her chow. I've got a chow right here, was throwing her chow called cheese at the enemies. I don't have an enemy to throw this chow at, so I'm just going to throw it at you. Sorry, I couldn't help myself there. Back to the video. Knuckles and Rouge also play the same too, and the levels are actually set out quite well to take advantage of these different gameplay types. There's certain sections in the level where you'll know instantly that you need to be playing as one of the characters, and although you get to choose a character when you're starting the stage, in some of the levels at least, you can actually switch between them at will, so you just have to stand still and press the triangle button, and then you can choose to swap into one of the other characters. So for example, if you're playing as Tails, you can use these special sections of the levels here in order to reboost your flight ability and get higher and higher into the stage. And if you're playing as Knuckles or Rouge, you can of course glide and climb on walls, although it is a little bit downgraded in this game compared to what's come before it, so you can actually only glide for a short amount of time before gravity takes effect and you very quickly end up going back down to Earth. And as well as that, you can't actually climb on any surface, you can only climb on very specific surfaces, which are these red textures that you can see here. And while I was streaming the game when the game came out on Tuesday, one of the game's designers was actually in that stream, and he explained why this is the case. It's like he's just got really heavy after a few seconds. Oh, you thought it might be too easy if we could just fly over everything. I guess so. And you had to have the levels the same for all the characters. So basically they decided to reduce some of the other characters' abilities in order to not break the game, and I think it makes sense, and once you've got used to it controlling a little bit differently to what you would expect, it still feels fantastic and it opens up a lot of puzzle opportunities for the levels. So in terms of the stages, there's actually only 4 main zones, which is very short compared to a regular Sonic game, and as well as that there's no special stages either. So each zone contains 3 acts, Act 1, 2 and 3, and they contain a section of challenges for you to complete. So the first act is always just reach the goal, and these are quite interesting. They're a mix of linear levels and then some more open areas where you have to track down keys in order to open a gate to progress further into the stage. And these stages also include 5 red rings to find, as well as 30 blue rings too. And finding these unlocks statues that you can access through the title screen, kind of similar to how Smash has the collectible trophies and stickers. It's a great way to increase the replay value in the game. Another game mode is to reach the checkpoint before the time runs out, and this is basically just a time attack mode where you run through a section of the level as fast as possible. Then there's the challenge of collecting a dream orb, which puts you into a different part of the level, which is usually much more open plan, and then you have to find out how to traverse the environment in order to find this dream orb that's hidden somewhere in the stage. Then there's a treasure hunting style level where you have to find 6 dream shards in a level, and again these take place in these big open areas with different platforming challenges, and I really enjoyed these ones because it makes you think about what character you should be playing as in order to get to some of these shards as well. And then finally there's another time attack mode to round out these challenges at the end, which is to reach the portal in a much shorter time limit. And then there's a few character specific challenges which open up throughout the game as well, where they task you with things like collecting the dream shards, but only as Tails or as a flying character, or only as Knuckles and using his glide abilities to navigate the environments. Luckily I found all of these challenges to be really fast, really fun, and really rewarding, and it definitely made up for the lack of actual zones in the game. Although I would have liked to see more, obviously. I do feel like everything in the game was very easy though. The only times that I actually struggled was when I overshot some jumps, and for some reason on this one level in particular where I was trying to get past these spurts of water that you have to go into and then fire yourself forward to the next one. I don't know why I struggled so much on this one level in particular, but I was getting quite frustrated. No! Ah, I really thought I'd got it that time. Why is this level so challenging? This is the most I've struggled in the game so far. Okay, go. No, not again! Oh my god, what is it with this jump? Alright, I'm just gonna go straight forward. Ah! There are no lives though, and there are plenty of checkpoints in the level, so it never gets too frustrating, and I feel like even if you're only a beginner in the Sonic style of gameplay, you could easily get to the end of the main game, no problem. And talking about getting to the end of the main game, the progress in this game is quite strange. You can't actually just go from act to act. Every time you open up a new act, the next section will actually be locked, and you need to collect a certain amount of dream orbs in order to progress to that next area. And this isn't really an issue, and I enjoyed going back and doing some of the earlier challenges, but it did kind of pad the game out where they could have actually filmed that with more stages. But I think with what they had to work with, they absolutely nailed everything they set out to do with this game. So in the end, it took me around 3 hours to complete the main game, and then maybe 2 or 3 more in order to collect all of the additional orbs. So I'd say 6 hours for a game that is basically free. I mean, you have to pay for an Apple Arcade subscription, but even so, that is fantastic value for money, if you can even say that. I kind of think of it as a free game because I already had an Apple arcade subscription anyway, but I'd say it's definitely worth signing up just to play this, honestly. And there are actually going to be weekly challenges, which is something else to keep you coming back to the game once you've already beaten all of the stages. So I actually tried the game on every Apple device that I have, and here's what I think about each of those different styles of play. So starting out with the phone, this is my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and at first I was dreading the idea of playing Sonic with touch controls, but after a few stages I actually kind of got used to them. The game has a really nice way of keeping you on track with a very forgiving homing attack, and the camera is really well programmed to keep you facing in the right direction, so you don't actually need to adjust it manually that often. And playing it on the iPhone is quite nice because you actually get some haptic feedback when you're pressing the buttons on the screen, so you can kind of feel when you press them, even though the screen is obviously completely flat. I did have some issue with using my thumb for the analog stick, but that's probably just because I don't really play these kind of games on my phone, so I'm not too used to these touchscreen style controls. But I'm sure if you're more used to playing phone games, then you'll feel right at home playing this. And in terms of frame rate and graphics, it just looked and played fantastic, so really no complaints just playing it on a phone. There is another option for iPhone though, and that is using a Bluetooth controller, or in this example here, using the Backbone controller, which is a proper official PlayStation controller for the iPhone. And this I'm playing on my girlfriend's iPhone 15 Pro, using the Backbone controller, and playing it on here honestly feels as good as any handheld system. It really feels like a PlayStation Vita, just in a more modern form factor. It really felt even better than I was expecting, and I can't wait to upgrade my phone next year to one with USB-C so that I can steal it off her and use it to play my own games. The only issue, I guess, is having to carry around the controller separately and then connect it to your phone, and in this case I actually had to take the case off the phone as well, so there are a few barriers to entry if you were just thinking of sitting down for a few minutes and playing it using a controller, so bear that in mind if you do decide to play this game using a controller on your phone. Now next is the iPad, and I actually had two different ones to test it out on. A 12-inch iPad Pro and my iPad Mini 6 as well. And the touchscreen controls definitely felt a little strange playing it on screens of this size, so it's probably not the ideal way of playing. Although with the iPads you can also use Bluetooth controllers as well, and I'm sure that'd be really good. So if you've got a case that could prop the screen up, you could easily sit there and use a PlayStation controller and play the game just fine on an iPad. And finally, the way that I experienced the game, and this is on the Mac, and I thought just for fun, before I show you how it works with the PlayStation controller and using a HDMI cable to plug it into a TV or monitor, I thought I would try playing it with the keyboard on the MacBook. And this is definitely the most awkward way to play the game. You actually have to use W, A, S and D to run around, spacebar to jump, and shift to boost and use it as the homing attack. So that felt really strange, and of course using the trackpad to move the camera was certainly less than ideal. And then of course you can actually just plug your Mac into a screen and use a controller, and I actually tested it out on my ultra wide monitor, which is what I've got here, which is what I use for editing my videos, and I was amazed to see that the game actually changed its aspect ratio to run in ultra wide. I really wasn't expecting that, and it actually looks incredible, and there's no sort of messing up of the UI elements or anything. Everything looks pristine, and it controlled amazingly well using the PlayStation 5 controller, and that is actually how I played the game on stream. So if you want to see me play through the entire game, including some of the challenges at the end, then check out the VOD for the stream that I did. I've actually uploaded it over to my gameplay channel, and if you want to see me playing more games, I actually stream every Tuesday at 7:30 in the evening here in the UK. So work out whatever time that is in your time zone, but definitely go and give me a follow over at twitch.tv/RetroBreak Games. Yes, unfortunately RetroBreak was already taken. Anyway, can't wait to see some of you over there. I don't really have any complaints about this game at all. Despite its simplicity, I really enjoyed every minute that I played of this game, and it honestly is the best that Sonic has felt in 3D for a long time. If they could improve on some of these ideas, maybe make some more zones, make some more linear levels as well, because I really enjoyed them. Maybe make the levels a little bit more intricate because they were quite straightforward. I really think you've got a 9 or a 10 out of 10 Sonic game on your hands here. So Sega Hardlight, I really can't wait to see what you come out with next. And for those of you that don't have Apple Arcade, I'm really hoping that it gets ported to consoles, because I think this would fit perfectly on the Switch. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about the game. Let me know whether you've played it, or let me know whether you're holding out for a port onto something that you can play it on. And if you want to see more Sonic videos, I actually did 2 videos recently of both the Sonic Adventure games, so I'll put both of these on the screen over here, so choose which one of those to watch next. And if you did enjoy this, please consider checking out Patreon to support me and my YouTube journey. That's it for now though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye!